For 5 years, I thought I knew Sophia. Every laugh, every late night conversation, every shared dream, I genuinely believed it was real. We had a life, a beautiful one, here in the bustling heart of New York City. We talked about forever, about a little brownstone in Brooklyn, maybe even a dog. I had it all planned out, right down to the diamond ring tucked away in my sock drawer, waiting for our 5-year anniversary. That day, our day, was supposed to be the start of our next chapter. Instead, it became the day I tore out the final pages of our book, exposing a story I never knew existed. Before we dive into this roller coaster, if you're watching, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and ring that notification bell. You won't want to miss what happens next, trust me. And trust me even more when I say you might just find yourself nodding along. Because sometimes life throws curveballs you never see coming. But how you catch them or let them fly by, that's what truly defines you. Our story, or rather my story, begins like many others. Boy meets girl, sparks fly, and before you know it, 5 years have vanished in a blur of shared memories. Sophia, she was captivating. Her smile could light up a room, her wit was sharp, and she had this incredible ability to make me feel like I was the only person in the world. We met at a friend's art gallery opening. She was an aspiring graphic designer, and I'm in finance, so you can imagine the playful banter about art versus analytics. It was instant, electric. We talked for hours that night, and by the end of the week, we were inseparable. Our routine was comfortable, predictable in the best way possible. Weeknights were usually spent cooking together, binging a new series, or just talking about our day. Weekends often involved exploring new neighborhoods, visiting art installations, or escaping the city for a quiet retreat upstate. She had a passion for travel, though her trips were always a bit last minute. Work emergency, she'd say, or a friend needs me. I never questioned it. Why would I? We were in love, or so I thought. The first crack in the facade appeared subtly, almost imperceptibly. It was about 6 months ago. We were at a dinner party, and someone mentioned a new upscale restaurant that had opened downtown. Sophia, usually quick with an opinion on all things culinary, seemed uncomfortable. She quickly changed the subject, redirecting the conversation with a practiced ease that, in hindsight, felt a little too smooth. I brushed it off, attributing it to a bad day or just not being in the mood. We all have those, right? Then there were the phone calls. She always kept her phone close, almost glued to her hand. And when it rang, she'd often step out of the room, speaking in hushed tones. When I'd ask, she'd explain it was her mother or a client with a sensitive project. Again, I accepted it. We all need privacy, and I respected hers. But a tiny seed of doubt, no bigger than a mustard seed, was planted. It wasn't enough to cause alarm, not yet. Just a faint, almost imperceptible whisper in the back of my mind. One evening, a few weeks before our anniversary, I decided to surprise her. She had mentioned wanting a specific limited edition art print for her studio, and I'd finally tracked it down. I wanted to see her face when I presented it. I let myself into our apartment. We had a spare key, thinking she'd be home working late, as she often did. The apartment was dark, quiet. "Sophia?" I called out. No answer. I checked her studio, empty. Our bedroom, empty. My heart sank a little. She must have had a late meeting, I reasoned. I decided to wait for her. While I was waiting, I noticed her laptop was open on the coffee table. She rarely left it unlocked, but this time, it was. Curiosity, that dangerous little devil, got the better of me. I told myself I was just going to check if she'd left a note about where she was, but then I saw it. An email from a travel agency confirming a flight to San Diego, departing in 2 days. And the name on the ticket wasn't Sophia Rodriguez. It was Sofia Ramirez, a different last name. My blood ran cold. San Diego? She hadn't mentioned any plans to go to San Diego. And the different last name, it just didn't make sense. My initial thought was panic. A mistake, it had to be. A friend's trip she hadn't told me about, a quirky misspelling, but the knot in my stomach tightened. I clicked on her browser history, and what unfolded before my eyes was like watching a slow-motion car crash. Websites for a local San Diego community center, a dance studio, a small independent bookstore. And then the photos. Photos of Sofia, but not my Sofia. Photos of her laughing with a different group of friends, attending what looked like a local charity event, even a picture of her teaching a kid's art class, beaming. And in one of those photos, subtly in the background, a man, a different man. He had his arm around her. My world, the one that I had so carefully constructed, began to crumble. I felt a wave of nausea. My hands started to tremble. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a friend's trip. This was a double life. The realization hit me like a physical blow. All those work emergencies, the hushed phone calls, the discomfort at dinner parties, it all clicked into place with a sickening thud. She wasn't just Sofia Rodriguez here in New York. She was Sofia Ramirez, somewhere else, living a separate entire existence. And she was doing it with another man. My world, the one I had so carefully constructed, was now in shambles. I closed the laptop, my mind reeling. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. The shock was too profound. I needed time to process, to understand what I had just stumbled upon. When she finally came home, hours later, she greeted me with her usual warm smile and a kiss, completely oblivious to the earthquake that had just ravaged my internal landscape. She talked about a demanding client meeting, the usual excuses. And I, the man who had just seen undeniable proof of her deception, nodded, smiled, and pretended everything was normal. It was the hardest performance of my life. Over the next few days, I became a detective in my own life. I started looking for patterns, inconsistencies. Her work trips suddenly took on a sinister new meaning. I discreetly checked her calendar, cross-referenced it with flight schedules I found online. Each piece of information I uncovered was another nail in the coffin of our relationship. She had an apartment in San Diego, a different social security number she used for her other life, even a different professional identity. She was a different person, and I, for 5 years, had been completely in the dark. The anger was a slow burn, intensifying with each discovery. But beneath the anger was a deep, searing pain. How could someone I loved so deeply, someone I trusted implicitly, betray me in such a profound way? The why haunted my waking hours and invaded my dreams. Was I not enough? Was our life here not enough? Was she just a master manipulator, or was there something else at play? I needed answers, but I knew I couldn't just blurt out what I knew. I needed a plan. I needed to teach her a lesson she would never forget. Our 5-year anniversary was fast approaching. I'd already made reservations at that fancy downtown restaurant she'd steered clear of. The ring was still in my sock drawer, a symbol of a future that no longer existed. I knew that day would be the perfect storm. The weight of the occasion, the anticipation she would undoubtedly feel, would make the revelation all the more impactful. It wasn't about revenge, not entirely. It was about truth. About holding her accountable for the years of lies, and perhaps a little bit about reclaiming my own dignity. The days leading up to the anniversary were a blur of feigned normalcy. I acted as if nothing was wrong, planning the celebration, even buying her a beautiful dress that I knew she'd love. Each interaction felt like a scene in a play, and I was performing the role of the unsuspecting, loving boyfriend. It was emotionally draining. A constant battle between my genuine affection for the person I thought she was and the crushing reality of who she actually was. My heart ached, but my resolve solidified. She needed to understand the depth of her deception. Finally, the day arrived, October 27th, our 5-year anniversary. The air was crisp, a perfect autumn day in New York. I picked her up, dressed in my best suit, a smile plastered on my face that felt completely alien. She looked stunning in the dress I'd bought her, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. She squeezed my hand. "Happy anniversary, my love," she whispered. The words tasted like ash in my mouth. I managed a "Happy anniversary, Sophia," my voice surprisingly steady. We hailed a cab, and as we drove to the restaurant, she chattered excitedly about our future, completely oblivious to the emotional guillotine waiting for her. The restaurant was exquisite, exactly as I remembered. Soft lighting, elegant decor, and a hushed murmur of sophisticated conversations. We were led to a secluded table by the window, offering a panoramic view of this city's skyline. I ordered a bottle of expensive champagne, a celebratory gesture that felt utterly perverse given the circumstances. We clinked glasses. "To 5 wonderful years," she said, her eyes shining. "To 5 years," I echoed, taking a sip, the bubbly liquid doing nothing to quell the inferno raging inside me. We talked, or rather she talked, about her day, about a new project she was excited about plans for a romantic getaway we could take next year. Each word she uttered, each innocent dream she shared felt like a dagger twisting in my gut. I listened, nodded, offered polite responses, all the while constructing the final pieces of my carefully planned revelation. The waiter brought our appetizers, and I knew my window was closing. It was now or never. I cleared my throat, taking a deep breath. "Sophia," I began, my voice a little louder than intended, "I have something for you." Her eyes lit up. "Oh, Richard, you shouldn't have." I reached into my inner jacket pocket, not for the ring, but for a small, elegantly wrapped box. Her smile widened. I slid it across the table. "Go on," I urged. "Open it." She carefully unwrapped the gift, her fingers tracing the ribbon. Inside, nestled on a bed of tissue paper, was not a piece of jewelry or the art print, but a framed photograph. A photograph of her, in San Diego, laughing with the other man, his arm around her. The exact picture I had seen on her laptop. The smile slowly, agonizingly drained from her face. Her eyes widened in horror, shifting from the photo to me, then back to the photo. The color drained from her cheeks, leaving her skin a ghastly white. "Richard, what is this?" she whispered. Her voice was a barely audible whisper, laced with a tremor of pure panic. The sophisticated hum of the restaurant faded into a distant buzz. All I could hear was the pounding of my own heart. I leaned forward, my voice low and steady, laced with a cold calm that surprised even myself. "That, Sophia," I said, pointing to the photo, "is a snapshot of your other life. The one you've been living for years, completely unbeknownst to me." I watched as the realization, the absolute terror of being exposed, washed over her. She stammered, I don't know what you're talking about. This is a mistake, Richard. You've got it all wrong." Her eyes darted around the restaurant, as if seeking an escape, a way to vanish into thin air. But there was nowhere to go. She was trapped. I chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. "A mistake? Is it a mistake that your flight confirmation to San Diego had a different last name? Is it a mistake that you have an apartment there? A different set of friends? A different life, Sophia? Because I don't think so." I watched as her face crumpled, the carefully constructed mask of innocence shattering into a million pieces. The tears started to well up in her eyes, but I felt no pity, only a grim satisfaction. I continued, my voice unwavering. For 5 years, I believed in us. I planned a future with you. I had a ring in my pocket tonight, Sophia. A ring I was going to give you on our anniversary to ask you to be my wife. But you were too busy playing house in San Diego, weren't you? The words hung in the air, heavy with accusation, each one a hammer blow to her carefully constructed deception. She finally found her voice, a choked sob. Richard, please, let me explain. It's not what you think. Oh, I think I know exactly what it is, Sophia. It's called betrayal. It's called living a lie. And it's called disrespecting everything we built together. You didn't just lie to me, Sophia. You made a mockery of our entire relationship. The other diners, who had initially been oblivious to our unfolding drama, were now casting curious glances our way. Our intimate anniversary dinner had become a public spectacle of heartbreak and exposure. Sophia was visibly shaking, tears now streaming down her face, ruining her makeup. She looked like a deer caught in the headlights, utterly humiliated and cornered. She finally managed to choke out, I'm so sorry, Richard. I never meant to hurt you. No, I countered. There's a big difference, isn't there? You were perfectly content to keep this charade going, to string me along, to let me plan a future with a phantom. You played me for a fool, Sophia, and that I cannot forgive. I pushed my chair back, the scraping sound echoing in the sudden silence of our corner of the restaurant. My appetite was gone, replaced by a bitter emptiness. I stood up, adjusting my jacket. The expensive champagne remained untouched. The romantic dinner, a monument to a love that never truly existed, was now a wasteland of shattered dreams. This, I said, my voice resonating with a finality that left no room for doubt, is over. Consider this your anniversary gift, Sophia. The truth. I turned and walked away, leaving her sitting alone at the table, the framed photograph of her double life a stark monument to her deception. I didn't look back. I couldn't. The pain was immense, but so was the sense of liberation. The weight of her lies, a burden I hadn't even realized I was carrying, had finally been lifted. The aftermath was messy, to say the least. She tried to contact me repeatedly with apologies, explanations, desperate pleas. I blocked her calls, ignored her texts. There was nothing she could say that would undo the years of deceit. The trust was shattered, irrevocably broken. It took time, a lot of time, to heal, to reconcile the Sophia I thought I knew with the Sophia who had so skillfully manipulated me. I learned a lot from that experience, about trusting my gut, about looking for red flags, and most importantly, about valuing myself enough to walk away from a situation that was inherently dishonest. It was a painful lesson, one I wouldn't wish on anyone. But it was also a lesson that ultimately made me stronger, more resilient, and more attuned to what I truly deserved in a relationship. So, to all of you out there, if you've ever found yourself in a similar situation, or if you're going through something difficult right now, remember this: your experiences, good or bad, are opportunities for growth. Don't let a bad experience define you. Instead, let it fuel your fire, empower you to make better choices, and help you triumph through whatever challenges life throws your way. It's not always easy, but you can come out stronger on the other side. Believe me, I did. If this story resonated with you, or if you just found it compelling, please consider subscribing to the channel, giving this video a thumbs up, and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss out on future stories. And seriously, share your own experiences in the comments below. We're all in this crazy thing called life together, and sometimes sharing our stories is the best way to help each other navigate the twists and turns. Let's build a community where we can all learn and grow from each other. Thanks for watching, and remember, always choose your truth
even if it's the harder path.